Hello everyone, it's me, Theory, and I'd like to welcome you all to my nerdy life as an army wife. Here, we will be exploring my experiences as a military wife and the different ways that I cope with the stress. Welcome to my journey. Episode 2, Our Relationship. Mark and I met. I should have wrote these dates down, but I didn't. We met on Twitch almost 3 years ago now. No. Yes, almost 3 years ago now. We met on Twitch. He was streaming with a couple of his friends. I had just started streaming. I was living in the Chicago area at the time. And from communities, like basically all because I wanted to watch Smite competitively on Twitch. Found a streamer who introduced me to another channel, who introduced me to another channel, who introduced me to another channel. It's like 8 degrees of separation, like basically of all of these channels that I got into before I made it into their community. I definitely sat around lurking for a while before I said anything to, spoke up and chat at all. One day I decided to actually say something in the chat because Mark kind of always was like more of a kind of sat in the background. He didn't play as many of the games. He was more of the commentary and the comedic relief. And he was always making me laugh. So through some mutual streamers that we were acquainted with at the time, I was having conversations with him, and I just kept talking about how much he made me laugh, and that I was thinking about potentially reaching out to him, but I didn't want to be that girl that reached out to a streamer because they had a little crush on him, and then like I didn't want to be lame. I guess like that was like in my head. I'm like, he's got to hear from like so many people all the time that there's no way he's going to reach out and respond to a message from me. So what did I do on June 15th of 2018? 2017? 2017. And one of those years. I don't really remember. I reached out to him, and I was super creative, and I thought I was super hilarious, and I just said, "Oh, hi, Mark," which, come to find out later, he had never seen the room, and two, everyone says that to him, and he didn't find it amusing at all, and he just like responds to everybody who sends him messages because he was just trying to be a supportive person in the supportive of their community, and just was like, oh, okay. So we started talking just about every day, found out that we had quite a bit more in common than we had realized, and basically every day since that day we at least had some sort of conversation. And actually he made the first move about taking things in a direction that was more of a relationship than a friendship. He had a little bit to drink, and he made a comment, something about hot dogs. We were talking about, it was in the summer, we were talking about like cookouts and hot dogs, and then he took it into a direction that was like entirely like, really? But I kept talking to him. Anyways, kind of just like brushed it off. Then it was kind of like, well, I didn't know if you were serious about that, or if you were just joking, or if you just had too much to drink. And then things kind of continued to go in that direction. Like, no, I am attracted to you, and I do like the friendship and the relationship that we have, and I'm interested in, potentially pursuing it. But, and in the meantime, I had lost my job. So I moved back from the Chicago area to my home in Ohio. So he was basically like, you're in Ohio, I'm in Oklahoma. How realistic is this? Like, it's fun talking to you and having all of these, having this relationship. And and stuff like that, but it's just fun. So I, reached out to him about potentially coming to visit, and because I really just couldn't get him out of my head, and I kept thinking that if I didn't take the risk to go out there and meet him, then I would always be like second guessing whether or not I really gave this a chance. And he was all for it, so I booked a plane ticket. It was for the weekend after Thanksgiving in US Thanksgiving, so like the end of November, that the trip was planned. But before all of that happened, right around my birthday, which was Halloween, we actually like split up due to parties around us really just like putting pressure on him to break up with me because I was causing drama in their channel, which I didn't realize like that was happening. No one reached out to me whatsoever about the entire situation, so I was really just blindsided by him deciding that he wanted to end the relationship. But really, I don't know how I feel about fate, but things happen for a reason. When I went to cancel the hotel and everything that I had booked, it was too late. I wasn't going to get a refund on anything, so I talked to a few of my friends and my family, and I was like, look, I'm gonna be out this money. I might as well just go on the trip, because I was staying at like a bed and breakfast. I was like, I can go ahead and I can order myself a massage. I can do, things for me. I can see a part of the world that I haven't seen before. So I'm already going to be out the money, so I might as well just take the trip. And I wanted a vacation anyways. And in the meantime, when I reached out to some people that I knew that lived out here, I had let them know that I wasn't canceling my trip and that I was still coming, and that if we still wanted to meet up, like that would be fine. Then word got around to Mark that I was still coming, and he said, hey, if you're still coming out here, I still want to meet you and all of this. I think that there are some things that we need to talk about. So we did. The first night that we met, he came to my hotel and we ended up talking, getting everything out on the table. I found out about all of the past things that had happened and the pressure that was being put on me by somebody who really had no business being in a relationship as it is. But I don't really hold any ill will to them. Obviously, we're married now, so everything happens the way that it happens. So I spent, I think it was about 4 or 5 days out here really getting to know him and the people around him, and it just was one of those things that clicked. As soon as I got home, I booked another trip immediately to come see him in February, and that was just the plan, was to just keep making trips as I could afford them to spend more time together. Things got really tense at home. I was really unhappy after losing my job in the spot that I was in. I was feeling really unfulfilled with my life. I was back in my parents' basement. So all in all, I just wasn't a happy person. And again, it was there were all of these, basically these like red flags that were telling me like, you need cries for help this entire time of my life, that maybe I should have talked to a therapist then, maybe I should have done, but I didn't. And I ended up moving out to Oklahoma with no job set up. I had a couple of interviews set up, no job in mind, anything. I moved out in December and just kind of said, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, great. Whatever, we'll figure it out as we go. I'm an independent woman. I can handle myself. I have things that throw at me, and this is just going to be another journey in my life that we'll figure it out. But at this point, I'm approaching 30 years old, so I need to figure it out sooner or later. My family was really nervous about me coming out here for what they saw as someone that I had really just met and I didn't know well. But they didn't know about they weren't present for the conversations that we had online. They didn't know the relationship that we had really built and the friendship that we had built before anything became romantic. My dad was actually the only person who was like truly supportive in the fact that he said, if you don't do it, you're never gonna know. So, you know, if you have to move back home, you move back home, and if it doesn't work out. But if you don't try it, you're gonna sit here and think about, why didn't I? When there's really nothing holding you back. You don't like your job, you don't like where you're living, you don't like the situation that you're in, so go change it. So then I moved, was sleeping on a friend's couch for quite a while. I didn't have a job until February, so I basically went the entire month of January not working, and with the kindness of the people that I was staying with, I'll always be forever grateful to them for letting me stay on my couch and letting me basically like pay my rent by helping watch their child when they would need to go to work and stuff like that, to not have to like pay for a sitter all the time, things like that. Like I really, really, truly appreciate them, though we don't speak anymore, just because we really just, our paths went in a different way. Like I'm still so grateful for them, but it's just one of those things where you can't force a friendship out of something when you really are going in different directions in your life, and you have to be grateful for them and the time that you had them, and always wish them well, which took me a while to learn. I was really heartbroken when the relationship did first kind of go in its rocky way, but if it wasn't for them giving me that opportunity, I wouldn't be where I am today and with the man that I love. So we moved in together in April. We got this place that I'm in right now. We've been here for over a year now. It's really the first time that he's lived anywhere that he's had his name on a lease. It was a really huge growth for him. The more and more time that we spent together, I realized that he was letting the people around him really have a negative impact on his life. They weren't lifting him up in any way. Anytime that he had an idea, it was always shot down. I don't believe that they were doing it intentionally. I just did think that they wanted different things from life and creatively in the projects that they were working on, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, just recognizing that this working relationship isn't benefiting either of you. So things ended with that. We ended up moving in with one of our other fellow streamers that had moved to Oklahoma. Actually, he moved from California, and he still lives with us today. So we kind of all have similar ideas and what our projects want to be creatively, and we really bounce off of each other well, and we work together well. Our strengths are in different areas, so we can really like highlight the others. So it's really nice in that environment that if there's anything that I need, I can always go to my roommate, and he's like, hey, I can figure that out for you, I can do that for you, because he's just absolutely hysterical. Like, his stream is hilarious, and he's really like, through everything that's been happening, there are sometimes like there are always rough patches in roommate relationships. Leave the toilet up and I completely overreact and get mad and don't want to talk to you for a week, because that's just how things are, and I'm really bad at confrontation. But it's when it comes down to it, when you really need somebody to be there, he definitely is. He's absolutely up there with one of my best friends. He was Mark's best man. So there really isn't anything that I can say negatively about him, because I don't know what I would do if he wasn't here, because there have been many times that while Mark has been gone, he has made sure that I've eaten, cooked dinner, just little things like that, just to know that he truly cares about me and knows that what I'm going through is really difficult. And he listens to me cry a lot. And what more can you ask for in a friend who's just there for you? So yeah, after we moved in together, things were going really, really well, and we started talking marriage and things like that. But I always had wanted him to ask my dad for permission before that, so we had booked a trip to go to Ohio to see my family so that he can meet everybody. And then I was working in the restaurant industry at the time. I was managing a restaurant at the time, and that type of high stress is something that I applaud people who can do it, because I would not. I would go into work at 3, I would get home at 5 in the morning, be back at work at 8. It was just a lot to handle, and there was a lot of stress on the relationship, and it took its toll on me physically. I ended up having to go into the hospital. It caused an ulcer, which then caused my gallstones that were in existence to flare up, and then I ended up having to have my gallbladder removed. And let me tell you, if you don't go through some sort of medical mishap in your relationship, it's really easy to learn if you guys are going to make it, if something like that does happen. Though I hope that everyone can stay happy and healthy and doesn't have to have any sort of surgery or anything. But in the day, they kept me overnight for that surgery, which is rare. It was more inflamed than they thought, so they just wanted to make sure that there were no complications and no infection risk or anything like that after my surgery. And it's a bit of a haze for me that I was on, a lot of pain medicine. I couldn't stand up on my own. I couldn't get out of bed on my own immediately. I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own. And I remember asking, this was before we were even engaged. He's there by my side. He didn't sleep. Or when I would wake up in the middle of the night, he would wake up to help me get up and go to the bathroom. Got to the point where he even had to wipe me. Like, if someone is willing, no questions asked, to wipe your bottom for you, that is true love. That is the most embarrassing situation that I could have ever thought would ever happen to me, that asking your boyfriend to help you clean yourself after you've gone to the bathroom because you cannot do it, and he does it, no questions asked. There were a lot of other things that made me know that he was the one, and that I loved him, and that I didn't want to spend my life with anyone but him, but that solidified it completely, that there isn't anything that this man wouldn't do for me. So we ended up we postponed our trip because, of course, our flight was originally scheduled for the day that my surgery was to take place. And then our roommate that I was telling you about, he's the one who took us to the hospital at 5 in the morning for my surgery and then picked us up the next day. Poor guy. I'm pretty sure I was really mad at him for going over bumps because it hurt so badly, but he just handled it so well. Always asked what I needed and anything, what to pick up prescriptions for me, things like that. He's just an overall good human, and I'm grateful that he was there for Mark at the time when I was asleep to vent about the situations that he had to go through with me in the hospital and in my recovery. So the trip to Ohio ended up getting postponed to September. I was still working in the restaurant industry at the time, and things really got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, and I put my 2 weeks in just before the trip, and without a plan in place. I didn't know what I was going to do, but my body physically couldn't take it anymore. I wasn't recovering well from the surgery, and I really felt like I wasn't getting support from the people that I needed support from, people who are higher than me. Just in general, it was a really bad environment, and it wasn't good for me physically, it wasn't good for me mentally, and I put in my 2 weeks. Then, which lined up, my last week was supposed to be the week that when I came back from Ohio, which they ended up making me not fulfill. So we go to Ohio, very short trip. I had a lot of stuff in storage there, so our plan was to fly to Ohio, load up a U-Haul, take all of my things back to Oklahoma so that we had furniture, because we really didn't have anything. We had bought a bed at the time. So that's about all that we had. We had these 2 little futons that, the ones that go click, 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 and are really uncomfortable after a while. Your feet go numb on them. So because I had lived on my own for so long, I had an entire apartment, 1-bedroom apartment full of stuff so that we didn't need to buy these things. We were just gonna, it would have been cheaper to, load up a U-Haul than repurchase everything that I already had. So we get there, we have dinner, we have lunch with my sister and my niece the first day at Cheesecake Factory. He had never been to Cheesecake Factory, even though cheesecake was his absolute favorite dessert. There I got to experience a lot of firsts with him. I've gotten to experience a lot of firsts with him, which has been great to see someone watch a certain movie for the first time that you love and watch their reactions the first time. Is when we were doing long distance, we used to do Discord screen shares of movies to watch together, which I know is a huge no-no, but that we wanted to watch a movie together, and that was kind of our only option. So we then we go and stay with my dad. My dad lives at Lake Erie, and we're there. We have dinner there, stay the night, and we have breakfast and lunch with them the next day. He lives really close to a beach, so the weather was really nice in September. It wasn't so cold that you couldn't enjoy the weather and the scenery that we were at. So we kind of went for a walk down the beach, and then Mark and my dad go off on their own. My dad lives on a cliff, so you walk up to the edge and you look down, and there's Lake Erie, and extremely dangerous, but extremely beautiful. So here they are going off on this adventure. The 2 of them, I see them climbing through to go up to a higher point on the peak through these trees, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. Why would they be going off on a direction for each other? I know what's happening. I know what conversation's happening. But I see them on the edge of this cliff, and I realize, what if my dad says no? What if Mark says something so horrible that my dad is like, absolutely not. You are not marrying my daughter. My dad could just push Mark off the cliff. Mark can't swim. This would be the end of Mark. So I'm just watching them, out in fear. My heart is pounding. There's no way that, thinking, oh my gosh, please don't say anything stupid. Because Mark tries to be funny a lot of the times, and sometimes the things that he says that are funny are not jokes that your dad wants to hear about, your father, any father would want to hear about their daughter. And the many conversations that he joked about having with my dad made me so nervous. I was sick to my stomach down there on the beach, just wondering. Conversation obviously went well. They came back, and my dad gave me the biggest hug I think I've ever gotten from him. He didn't say anything. He just hugged me. And I knew that, obviously, that my dad approved of Mark. And my stepmom was telling me before we were getting ready, that she was like, I've never seen you so happy, and I've never seen someone put you first. Because my family, I went through a lot in my previous relationship. My family also went through a lot in my past relationship, where they basically watched me be with someone who was verbally and emotionally abusive, and at some points and times in our relationship they were sexually abusive. So they went really through the ringer with me, watching me not see what they saw. So, which I have always said, I don't understand. Before I went in this situation, got myself in this situation, I always said, I don't understand why people stay with someone like that. How is it so hard to leave? I'll never say that again. And I will always be the person that I will do whatever it takes to get you out of that situation if that's what you're in. You have to wait until it's safe, until you feel safe, until you have a plan, until you realize that you're worth more than what they're telling you. And to hear my family say that that's what they saw in Mark is that he puts me first. That he would do anything to put a smile on my face and to make my dreams come true. And I couldn't be more grateful for that everyone saw that. After the little visit with my dad, we ended up going to see my mom, who lived about an hour away from there. So, it was kind of the same situation all over again. And I remember when we were packing up, my mom is a person who she's gonna drill you with the questions, so that's what she did to Mark. Well, what are your intentions? What is this? What is that? What is this? And then by the end of the trip, I remember her giving Mark a hug and him saying, "Thank you, Joan." And she's like, "No, you call me Mom." And I knew that even though it was just a short amount of time, like, Mark just exudes, like, his personality, who he is. He just, you know him instantly. There's no front about him. He is who he is. I always say that if he were a D&D class, he would be a bard, because his charisma is freaking 25. So he's making those rolls with +5s. For any of you D&D people, I'm sorry if that makes absolutely no sense to you, but D&D is a huge part of our relationship. It's actually what really I dedicated a day a week to D&D. When my job was so crazy, I always made sure that I made a D&D session so we could at least spend some time together. So it's a really, really big deal. Really important to us. That D&D is in our lives. So, I knew that the question was coming. I also knew that he had bought the ring. He wasn't exactly, like, the most secretive about it, and I wasn't. I, like, picked things out. I picked out the ring because it was something that I saw and I just couldn't get it out of my head. And was like, I know that this is the ring that I want. This is the perfect thing for me. This is going to make me the happiest to wear, which the ring is actually damaged right now. One of the prongs came off, so I can't wear it. I just wear the wedding band currently. But it matches and everything. And of course with COVID, can't get my ring fixed because they're sending stuff off, but no one's there to fix them, so they're not getting sent back. So I'm just waiting to be able to get that taken care of. But the proposal, we'll get to that. So it was October 10th, and he had asked me to brunch a few days before because he knew that I had the day off work. And I was like, why are you asking me to brunch? Tell me, trying to pry, find out. I knew what was going to happen. He's not very good at keeping secrets. And brunch is my favorite thing. Give me a mimosa and you give me some pancakes, I'm a happy, happy girl. So I'm getting ready for brunch and I'm trying to make it not obvious that I know what's going to happen. I'm like doing my hair, which I normally don't do. Like, I'm straightening it, I'm putting on makeup, and I'm making sure that everything's waterproof so that I can handle it. I'm sending a Snapchat to my cousin, like, hey, is my outfit, like, appropriate enough so that I know, like, it's not obvious that I know that he's about to propose, but it is also like it's good enough for pictures because like I don't want to look like a bum for these photos. Like I just gotta look good. And she was like, it's perfect. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Looking at my phone, and I turn around. He couldn't wait until brunch. He was on his knee and he asked me if I would do the honor of being his wife. In that he didn't have anything creative to say because I'm the creative one in the relationship and he uses me for all of his good one-liners, which is not true. It just made me feel good. Like his one-liners are normally comedic, so I guess that in that regard, if he wasn't trying to make the proposal a joke, uh, he wouldn't do that. And then, of course, I said yes. We took photos and we were planning for a wedding for March of 2021. And then, like I said in the previous episode, the enlistment happened. So everything got bumped up. But just how I had mentioned that D&D was so important to us, trying to plan a wedding in 4 days and trying to find a place to have the wedding was really, really stressful. But the place that we went to every week for our D&D sessions, and where we purchased all of our board games and magic cards and Warhammer minis, because he's really into that, that were there constantly. Mark had been going there since he was in 7th grade, so he's a face that everyone really kind of knew, and we had made friends with a lot of people who would work there, and I just sent them a text message saying, hey, what are the chances that you guys will let us get married in your store on Leap Day? Without hesitation, I think it was within 5 minutes I got a response that said, absolutely, we'll make it work. And one of my dear friends who works there said, I'll do whatever it takes. They opened the store for us after it was closed. They moved shelves around so that we could get married near the D&D section and put all of the books and memorabilia that meant the most to us on the shelves. 2 of our friends did the ceremony, and they actually made the lines, our vows were D&D related. And that 6 minutes and 17-second long ceremony turned out to be one of those most special moments because the people that we sought out to for help went above and beyond to make it really special to me, because I have that dream wedding in my head that I always wanted. And no, this wasn't it, but it was something I could have never dreamed of because it was so us. It was something that I didn't know that I wanted. So we get married so that I can have the benefits of being a military wife and things like that. And I'll actually post a link to our wedding video, which probably won't make the most sense to a lot of people because there are a lot of personal inside jokes, but it just shows the people that I am so grateful for and who were there to make our day really special. One of the people who was at our D&D party did character art for our characters of showing them together, even though in the campaign they hate each other. But it was able to be really special, and it's when I really started to realize that where I'm at now, the place that I am, I have a really strong core group of people supporting me. My best friend lives in Wisconsin and would have been here if the wedding wasn't planned in 4 days. I know for a fact that they would have come instantly if there was time, and also not all of this COVID stuff going on. So it's just one of those things, like, in all the places that I've lived in my life, I've always had like a small group of people that I've known as cared about me, but this is the first place that I've been where I feel like I have an army behind me. That the group of people that I could call on would be there for me in minutes. And my 2 friends that I was a server with, they showed up to do my hair and makeup because they're phenomenal at it, and I'm not. It's not my thing. but they did it, and they were there, absolutely there for me. And it just shows that you don't realize the people who care about you until you need them. You really need them. And it was a beautiful thing to see the people that were there for us in that day. But yeah, that's the relationship. It has its ups and downs for sure. Marriage is hard work. I had someone ask me recently if I believed in soulmates. And I don't necessarily believe in that. I believe that there are certain personalities that work better together, and that there are people who strengthen you and there are people who bring you down, and you should absolutely be with somebody who's only going to bring you up. But it's not like this magical soulmate that it doesn't take hard work to keep the relationship going. It takes these two people who have found a strong connection with each other, who only want to continue to build each other up, and they want to work hard at that relationship, because people change over time. The person that I was when I was 18 years old is definitely not the person I am now that I am 30, and every experience that you go through is going to have an effect on you, and you're going to change whether you realize it or not. And that's where the work comes in, that you have to know that you have dedicated your life to this person, you have made vows to this person, and if both of you don't want to work hard to make it work, it's not going to. So that soulmate that you felt that you had, they're not going to always be there if you don't try hard to make sure that they know that they're a priority, and you work hard on yourself to make it, because it's also not their priority to, I think it was Will Smith who said it, where it's like, you need to be happy with yourself. If you put make it someone else's job to make you happy, that's completely unfair to them, because they don't know what they need to do if you don't tell them. So every day a marriage is work. Some days it doesn't feel like work, but some days it does. And it's those days when you come out at the end of the day loving that person even more, that you know that you both are still working really hard at it. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, don't forget to leave any questions or comments that you might have about my journey. And I will see you in the next episode. Love you guys.